Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining Foundry Live, Empowering Artists with Nuke 13.0. My name is Joyce, Industry Marketing Manager here at Foundry, and I hope you're doing well and staying safe wherever you are on this world. If you are new to our virtual event series, welcome, and I hope you enjoyed today's session. I wanted to run through a few updates and some housekeeping items before we dive straight into the session. The session will be recorded and available as on-demand straight after the webinar. And the session will end with the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please add them to the questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen. I'd like to take this moment to thank our sponsors, Lenovo and AMD. We are working with Lenovo, AMD, and our other partners as part of our new program to test selected third-party workstation across all of our products. So thanks to our sponsors, we are excited to give away a ThinkStation P620, a Lenovo and AMD Threadripper system, which includes an NVIDIA Quadro RTX 5000 to one lucky attendee. So to be eligible for this giveaway, you need to opt in upon registration. If you didn't opt in, no problem at all. You can sign up to one of the three upcoming Foundry Live events, and you'll automatically be slotted into the competition. So you still have time. We started Foundry Live last summer as a way to connect with you virtually and share product updates and release. This year, we're excited to come back for part 2, and our schedule includes a Moto 15 release, which is due next week. And Foundry's research team will be talking a little bit more about key forces and technologies driving change in the VFX industry, which is due on Thursday. And we will wrap up Foundry Live with an education summit end of next week. For more information and to register, please visit our Livestorm page or Foundry events page. This year, we are also taking part in several industry virtual events. We recently participated in HPA Tech Retreat and Spark Effects, but be on the lookout for Foundry at the Virtual FMX, GTC, Real-Time Conference, and SIGGRAPH. I'd like to take this opportunity to mention that Foundry is actively involved with the Academy Software Foundation, as we use many of their open source projects that are widely used in production. We have representation on the board, the Outreach Committee, and are actively involved in the Technical Advisory Council and various working groups. So to be successful, the Academy Software Foundation needs community members like you to contribute, code, get involved, and to help spread the word about the foundation. So make sure to visit the page and for more information on how to get involved. Foundry has many learning resources available on our Learn page, including tutorials, developer documentation, and release notes for all of our products. As part of our ongoing initiative to provide valuable learning resources, Foundry is excited to launch the Color Management Fundamentals and ACES workflow training created by Victor Perez and Netflix. So for more information on the training material, just join our webinar on March 31st. Stay connected with Foundry by subscribing to our YouTube channel, or check out our Insights Hub, where we host a lot of our case studies, articles, and industry trends, or follow us on social media. I'd like to give a massive shout out to Daniel Smith, who has recently launched his book, Nuke Codex, and we're giving away 3 books today for free. So no actions required from any of you. We will pick winners from the audience and send you an email. So stay tuned and keep an eye on your emails. So with that, thank you all for taking the time to join today's webinar. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you have any feedback, please feel free to reach out to virtual.events@foundry.com. And now I'd like to pass it over to our speakers. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Joyce, and thank you all for joining us today for this preview of Nuke 13.0, our next major version. So I'm Christy. I'm the Senior Director of Product at Foundry, looking after product management and product design for the Nuke family and Flix.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm the Research Engineering Manager and the lead on the AI research team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Webley. I'm an Associate Product Manager working on some different features, a lot of USD ingest at the moment.
I'm Juan Salazar. I'm the Senior Product Manager, and I oversee the timeline products, Nuke Studio Hero and Hero Player, and Flix. And with that, I think we're ready to start. So let's go for it. Welcome to Nuke 13, everyone. This release is the next step in our efforts to empowering you, the artist, and providing new tools to help you create the amazing work you do. To do this, our main focus has been on helping to keep your eyes on the images so you can do what you do best and create amazing visual storytelling. To do this, the first thing we wanted to introduce today is directly related to how you look at your work. In this release, we have extended the monitor out features and unified the system in Nuke and Nuke Studio. This means artists in Nuke can more easily view their work on a secondary monitor, even if they don't have access to a monitor out card. Now, you have the new floating window and its independent output called transfer controls so that you can view your images accurately on a separate display. This means you can have a working viewer and a display viewer set at the same time. For artists working with Nuke Studio, you can now seamlessly switch between the timeline and the compositing workspaces with no disruption to your monitor output. We have also included new controls and preferences to give you greater options of what and how you want to display it. An example is the ability to adjust the gamma and gain of your viewer that you can toggle if you want it to be applied or not to your secondary screen, or the ability to have the input process, again, applied or not. As well as all the above enhancements for Nuke users, stability, reliability, and usability have all been greatly improved in the Nuke Studio workflow, and we have taken our first steps with HDR workflows directly on the main viewer, with the ability to display HDR images on XDR and EDR-enabled monitors on macOS. Now, we also perform a lot of creative decisions on the 3D space. So we are happy to introduce the first step in our work to improve the 3D system. We have added Hydra and using HD Storm as the new 3D viewer. Now you can display a higher fidelity representation of your 3D scenes. This means artists can make artistic decisions inside of the 3D system rather than always having to switch back and forth with the scanline render. Hydra supports nearly all existing workflows you are familiar with, such as moving geometry, particle systems, and projection setups. But the real power of Nuke's new Hydra viewport comes with working with lights and materials in the 3D system. Nuke is now able to display lights, shadows, materials, and textures much more accurately than before. Here an example of the current 3D viewer and the new Hydra viewer and how much accurate it is to the final scanline render. As I mentioned, Nuke's Hydra viewer is the first in a series of projects we have planned to update the 3D system, addressing both the performance and user experience. And while we know that there is a lot to be done, we believe that this is a good first step and will allow artists to be more creative and more efficient when working with the 3D system. But what better way to use Hydra than improving our USD support? In Nuke 12.2, we introduced USD geometry reading in our efforts to reduce pipeline frictions and keeping artists focused on the images. We are introducing the import of USD cameras, lights, and axis data into Nuke native nodes. Like the Hydra work, this is only the start in making Nuke a more collaborative space, and we are excited to continue the development of USD to allow for greater sharing between DCCs using non-destructive workflows. We have also updated our USD version to 20.08 and kept this in line with our other products to make collaboration and pipeline workflows easier. For those waiting to get more out of USD in Nuke right now, all the extensions to the USD nodes are being open source so that the pipelines can further extend and customize these nodes for their unique USD use setups. And finally, on this first section about looking at your images, we also look at images with our teams. With Nuke 13, we are happy to release Sync Review. We actually introduced Sync Review in Nuke 12.2 as a beta feature, as we wanted to support artists who suddenly found themselves working remotely and in need of tools that allow for collaboration at distance. Now, we are releasing it with more features needed to enable teams to collaborate and continue working together towards a shared vision of the final image. In the initial release of Nuke 12.2, users had access to the playback controls, annotations, version systems, and soft effects parameters. And now, in Nuke 13, we have expanded the ability to sync all the actions needed in a review session. This means users can now make changes in the timeline, import new footage, create and modify new soft effects. This means you can have prep or ad hoc sessions, either to show a simple color change using soft effects, or working on the timing of an animation using the real-time tools in the timeline. These sessions can be just between a couple of members, or with an unlimited number of users seeing the same thing at the same time. We have also enabled annotations on Hero Player to make sure everyone can communicate together. Sync Review, like many of our features, is about listening to our users' needs and trying to help building tools that allow artists to work better and more efficiently. The next topic is something that I think will change how we do a lot of work. But I'm going to let the person that have led this work to present it to you. So next, Ben, it's all yours.
Thanks, Juan. So I'd like to tell you all about the exciting AI research or AIR plugins which form our new machine learning toolset available in Nuke and NukeX. The headline tool is called Copycat, and we hope it's going to revolutionize the way you work. Copycat's a NukeX plugin that allows an artist to train their own neural network to create a customized effect specific to the sequence or set of sequences they're working on. So how does that work? Well, the artist feeds Copycat just a small set of before and after images for their effect, and Copycat trains a neural network to replicate the transformation to get from one to the other. It then exports the trained network as a .cat file, which can be loaded in our next tool, the Inference plugin, which can apply the effect to the rest of the sequence. This way, Copycat allows the artist to work at scale much quicker. You produce just a few frames the old-fashioned way, and then you can use the trained network on multiple similar sequences, potentially even across whole shows or series. It's important for us to mention that we're not trying to replace artists with machine learning, and the results are only going to be as good as the data you feed in. We want Copycat to empower and assist you to do the things you love and not have to spend time on repetitive, boring tasks. I'm sure you're wondering by now what effects Copycat can do. Well, we've seen it work with beauty work and cleanup, garbage matting, marker removal, fixing focus issues, but really, it can do any image-to-image task, and we can't wait to see what it can do once it's in the hands of artists' imaginations. So let me show you some examples. First, I'm going to show you how you might use it for garbage matting. Let's say we wanted to mask out this man in the desert. The whole shot's hundreds of frames, but we're going to roto out just 6 manually, picking frames where he's in different positions so as to capture the variation in the sequence. We plug these before and after images into the Copycat node and hit Start Training. And then Copycat will go off and train the network. Now, this might take a bit of time depending on your hardware, so you might want to set off training before going to lunch or going home for the evening. Alternatively, you can just run a new instance of Nuke while it's processing. And here's the result. Hundreds of frames of pretty good quality garbage mats with just 6 frames manually rotated and a half hour or so of GPU time. Next up, we have a beard removal example with Foundry's own version of Henry Cavill. We've painted out his beard in 11 frames, and as you can see, it's done a pretty good job of applying the cleanup to the entire sequence, which is, again, hundreds of frames long. So, on top of Copycat and Inference, we're also shipping with a couple of pre-trained tools. The first of these is the Upscale node, which uses machine learning to upscale footage by a factor of 2. And here we've compared it to the TVI scale node, and as you can see, Upscale's done a much better job of bringing back high frequency details and edges. We also have the deblur node, which removes motion blur from footage. In this sequence we've stabilized a wobbly shot, and as we zoom in you can see that, like magic, the bookshelves have been deblurred. As a final note, both of these pre-trained tools are available with a standard Nuke license. Thank you all for listening, and now I'm going to pass you over to Chris.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, yeah, so something that I want to start on is how an already much loved tool is coming to Nuke 13, and I'm talking about Cryptomatte. So with Nuke 13, it's now a native node inside of Nuke, and you can find the Cryptomatte node inside of the Keys menu. This implementation includes an updated UI with a new vertical matte list to make viewing your selected mattes much easier, the ability to select the Cryptomatte manifest if it's embedded in the input image or contained in a separate sidecar manifest file. We also have the introduction of wildcard functionality, so you can perform your selections as usual, but if you use an asterisk, then you can make more sophisticated matte selections inside of the Cryptomatte node, giving you real flexibility and power in what you're selecting. We've also integrated Python 3 support so it can work with your ongoing productions. And having Cryptomatte inside of Nuke really means you no longer have to download it as a third-party gizmo, and means that going forward we can develop this tool further so that artists can keep getting more from the workflows they utilize most. So one we're really happy to see inside of Nuke 13. Okay, so performance. Performance is something that has been at the heart of Nuke development for a number of releases now. And with Nuke 13, we really want to continue on this theme. So on average, when rendering scripts, if we just look back, Nuke 12.1 was 18% faster than 11.3. 12.2 was 15% faster than 12.1, and Nuke 13 is looking to be on average 10% faster than Nuke 12.2, and all of this is with improved thread scaling. So what does this mean for you as an artist? Well, it means that you can see your scripts loading faster. When working with things like transforms on complex snow graphs, you can see those results faster, and also playback. Playback inside of Nuke, because you're dealing with large image data input, it's very difficult to make it real time, but even having it perform a bit more is giving you quicker feedback, more instantaneous ability to make your creative choices. So as I said, performance with 13 is something we want to continue building upon and bring to as well other areas inside of Nuke. Now, keeping Nuke as a dependable cornerstone of your VFX pipeline is something we take great pride in, and we know this can only happen if we support the libraries and SDK updates you need. As such, with Nuke 13, we're continuing our support of the VFX reference platform, and for the 2020 platform, this includes quite broad and significant upgrades that sees Nuke using some of the later versions of technologies, things like OpenEXR 2.4.2 and Python 3, which we know how much of a big update this is. We're also including file format and SDK updates for Avid and Ari, and we've extracted these into separate plugin packages so that you can access these file formats for the release you're working on, rather than only when you upgrade. So hopefully you've seen some really interesting and exciting features in Nuke 13 already, but I'm going to hand it back to Christy now, who's going to show you some other things that we've been working on.
Thanks, Chris, Ben, and Juan for walking through what's new in Nuke 13. Nuke 13.0 kicks off a new series of releases, and development is already underway for the next Nuke 13 release, as well as looking ahead to Nuke 14. Of course, you will be iterating on the machine learning toolset, Hydra support, and the other features introduced in Nuke 13.0. However, today, I wanted to give you a glimpse into some other projects we have lined up for the next release cycles that we haven't mentioned yet today. The first of those is color. So color management and understanding color is increasingly important for pipelines and artists. Most studios and DCCs, including Foundry products, now use OpenColor.io as their main color management system. The recently released OpenColor.io version 2 offers many potential improvements for color management in Nuke. We're most excited about the improved consistency between processing on the CPU and the GPU. We hope we'll be able to use this to enable a more consistent experience between viewing images in Nuke Studio and Hero and viewing them within Nuke. We've already been working on integrating OpenColorIO v2 into Nuke, and we hope to have an alpha of Nuke 13.0 with OCIO 2 support available for initial testing very soon. Improving the experience when working in Nuke, especially in the 3D system and the node graph, as well as the Nuke Studio and Hero timeline, is an area of focus for us for the next releases. So here I have a quick preview of some early designs and prototypes to show the kind of ideas that we're thinking about. This first one is going to be familiar to anyone that's been compositing for a while. And that is the ability to shake to disconnect nodes in the node graph. So here we have disconnecting a single node, disconnecting multiple nodes in a stack together, then reconnecting them. You can also select nodes at different locations. So here we're disconnecting these two transforms. And when you use the shake to disconnect, it maintains the structure of your graph. It's pretty cool. The bit in the middle there where it's reconnecting a stack of multiple nodes, this is something we've actually added in a recent maintenance release of Nuke 12.2. It's also Nuke 13.0, so something you can go play with now. This next one here shows resizing a backdrop node from all four corners. So on the right, we have an example that was built for Mari. We're looking to do the same interaction in Nuke with, of course, the Nuke style backdrop node. Last, but definitely not least, we have the ability to visualize the internals of a group, live group, or gizmo within a script. The aim here is for artists to be able to quickly understand what's happening inside the group and where it exists in a broader hierarchy. Especially as live groups are being used more, it's becoming increasingly common to have groups and groups and groups, group inception, essentially. So here we have in this prototype the ability to toggle on and off, expanding and hiding the contents of the group. Here you can see within this visualization, you can move the nodes around, into a layout that makes sense to you and that fits within your script. We do know that everyone can structure their scripts differently, so there is some control over where that visualization is displayed. So here we're going to show toggling it between being on the left side or the right side of the node. And then here we have showing that multiple hierarchy of groups. So we have a live group with a group inside it, and then another group inside that one. And here you can see, it quickly and easily visualizes what's happening at those different tiers of groups. All right, so these ideas are the tip of the iceberg on what we could do for user experience improvements inside Nuke. We have been referencing feature requests submitted over the years, but we want to keep hearing from you on what you need now. So please keep sending in those feature requests via support. We do look at them and we hope to use them to influence these projects over the next development cycle. Today, we've been talking a lot about working within Nuke. And to finish up, I want to talk a little bit about how we're improving the way that Nuke works with other packages. We see Nuke being used throughout pipelines, sometimes as a secondary tool for tasks like map painting, is one example, as well as a tool for reviewing work within simple slab comps. So we're working to make it easier for artists across disciplines to work within the context of the final comp, so they can work more efficiently and collaboratively. Also, we're saying this is an effort across the products at Foundry and not something that's unique just to the Nuke team. The first place we're starting is with the interaction between lighting and comp. In these sister disciplines, you often have artists using Katana and Nuke side by side. This video shows a proof of concept created by the Katana team. They also showed this yesterday in the lighting and look dev session, so if it looks familiar, that's where it came from. So here in this video, we have a live render from inside Katana using the Foresight rendering system introduced in Katana 4. Pixels, as they're rendered, are being streamed into Nuke, where we have a relatively simple Nuke comp with some color correction and a Z to focus. When that comp is processed, pixels from Nuke are streaming back into Katana, where they create a new catalog entry and can be seen in the monitor. All of this is happening live while you're doing your live rendering within Katana. So as the lighter, you're working more directly in the context of that Nuke comp from within Katana. Again, this is a very early proof of concept, and there's a lot more that the team has planned for making the workflow between Katana and Nuke more seamless and scalable. So watch this space over the next few months. Game engines, and in particular Unreal, are being used more in animation and VFX for previs and virtual production, as well as a final pixel renderer in some cases. So we're looking at how we can streamline bringing data from Unreal into Nuke to accelerate comp and to enable more fast creative iterations between Nuke and Unreal. So this video here shows a proof of concept created by Foundry's research team, bringing data from the Weta Meerkat project in Unreal into Nuke. So here, we're going to use the Nuke server plugin to enable a connection between Unreal and Nuke. Then use the Unreal Reader node to choose which map and sequence to view from the Unreal Engine project. You can choose either an individual shot sequence or a master sequence. So here you can update multiple actors in Unreal and be able to quickly view the changes in the Nuke comp. So within Nuke, we can select the render passes to bring from Unreal to use in your comp. This gives you the ability to bring in what you need for your work, really as you need it. There are also some advanced settings which allow you to optimize the movie render queue render output for your needs. And lastly, you can create a linked camera to allow you to comp new elements into the scene, visualize the scene through point clouds, and composite using Nuke's 3D system. If you want to learn more about the Nuke Unreal bridge, as well as what's next in machine learning across Foundry, definitely suggest that you join in with the research team session on Thursday. Same time, you can sign up in the same place you registered for this one. Definitely recommend that you check it out to hear more about these projects and what's next.